Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, sir, you are audible.
Yes, but I cannot present actually still.
Why, sir? Yesterday the same problem.
Yeah, yeah.
Radha, assign him as a presenter.
I already allowed, ma'am. Already allowed him as a presenter, ma'am.
Presenter, okay. Okay, then I will rejoin 1 second.
Okay, sir. Left and rejoin, sir.
Hello, now I join. Can you make me presenter?
Sir, just a minute, sir.
Yeah, sure.
Now you can try, sir. So now you can try to share your screen.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, sir. Now it is visible, sir, your screen.
Okay. So shall I
Okay,
start?
proceed, sir. Okay, proceed, sir.
Yeah. So today I'm going to talk about Riemann integration. Yesterday I told I'll define measurable function, then I will talk Riemann integration. But I will first talk Riemann integration. If time is there, then I will define. If not, then I will define measurable functions in next class. So we will start giving description of Riemann integration. What is Riemann integration? So it's sort of motivation I'm trying to give. So any continuous function, I will write continuous as CTS. So this is a continuous function f from closed interval a to b, R is called curve. So usually a continuous function from interval to real number called real curve. If it is in some other, so range of f is complex, then it is like it is called complex curve. So our aim is to calculate under the given curve maybe. So, but we'll define the notion of Riemann integral. Riemann integration. For more general class of function than continuous function called bounded function. Bounded functions not necessarily continuous. Functions f from closed interval a comma b to r. So before defining Riemann integral, I just want to like give sort of motivation to it. In high school, we study area of the simple geometric object. So usually they used to define area as equal to counting the number of so basic geometric object means like squares, rectangle, triangle, those objects. So usually A or so say 3 with any units. So usually what is the area of this square is 9 actually. So how it's the unit square. So divide it as a unit square, then we count it, then it is equal to 9. So that's how they define actually in high school. So similarly for rectangle. So 5 plus 5, maybe 5 centimeters or 4 centimeters. Then again, similar. So if we count the number of unit square, then it will be 20. So it is like length into breadth. So triangle also similarly we can do. And for triangle, we maybe extend it as a rectangular parallelogram, and then we count number of unit square. Again, it is half of it, so it's like half into BH, like B is this and H is this. Here L into B or something like that. So this is A square. So similarly, like so can anyone say how the area of the circle can be calculated? Suggestion like how one can like try to calculate. So say circle of unit radius. What is the area of circle of unit radius? It is pi. No. So how can we calculate that? Is there any idea like this? Can anyone suggest something like? So given a circle of radius 1. So what is this area of the circle? Is pi actually. Area of C is pi. So how does we calculate it? How do we calculate it? Anyone any idea about it? Case nobody is willing to answer, then I will start saying like whatever I want to do. So yeah. You want to
divide take sectors and
okay, sectors like usually like you are trying to divide it as a square. I mean, put squares inside like yours. Or sectors means
no, you like sectors and take triangles, small enough sectors with, I mean, to approximate.
yeah. Okay. Yeah. This is the one of the way to approximate it. But there is a more intuitive way to do it, like putting the polygon, regular polygon inside and outside, and increase the size of the polygon, and that will approximate the circle actually. So that is the one of the easiest way to calculate, because we know the area of the n regular polygon actually, n-sided regular polygon. So like I'm going to use that trick to do it actually. So first 4-sided polygon, which is square, So inscribed polygon I am putting inside, and circumscribed polygon I am putting like outside. So up 4 sides. So then area of the bigger square O1, and this is I1 inside square. So area I1, it is inside the circle. So it is less than or equal to area of the circle, say B, and outside square O1 area is bigger than the area of the circle. So it may be like, so outside square, area of the outside square is 2 actually, because we are taking circle of radius 1. So it is touch the part of the line is touch the part of the circle. So the length of length of this part is 1 plus 1 actually 2. So this is 4 actually, and this you can calculate 2 square root of 2. So this is like we can say area of the circle is lies between these 2 points. That's what we want to say at this point. And then what we are going to do is like we are going to increase the sides of the polygon actually. So I'll erase some part. So increase the sides of the polygon. So I'm inside also I'm increasing, outside also I'm increasing. So this is a regular 8 one. So outside also similarly. I cut it here, here, here. So this is also regular 8 one from outside, regular 8-sided polygon. So what is the so we do here itself actually. So we know that radius is 1. So this length is 1. But this polygon we can see like this actually. And we cut into 8 parts, and each has same length actually. So this line extra is I'm like dividing one triangle into 2 parts, like 2 right angle triangle, so that we can calculate the area of this particular triangle. So this is I2 actually. So we want to calculate area of I2. So what is it actually? So this is regular polygon. So the total angle is 2 pi. So this is 8-sided polygon. So the each angle of the triangle is 2 pi by 8. But we further divide the triangle one more. So it is like 2 pi by 16. So this is like this particular angle is 2 pi by 16. So what is the area of this particular triangle? This is like half into so length into breadth actually. So this side is uh, this side is sine actually. This side is cos. So this is sine 2 pi by 8 times cos 2 pi by 8. So this is area of this, but we are calculating one particular thing. So but we divide it into 16 pieces actually. I mean, yeah, okay. So it is 2 pi by 16. Correct. So it is 2 pi by 16 actually. So 16 pieces. So each has same area. So the area of I2 is 16 by 2. Similarly, you can calculate area of O2, but I'm not going to do that. You can take it as an exercise. So now we are again increasing sides. So we are n times increasing sides. So we get In area of I1, which is much smaller. And I mean, so inside area is actually increasing. So if you increase the side, inside area of the polygon is increasing, but outside area is decreasing. So we have this inequality, following inequality. area of I1 are equal to area of I2 other area of IN which is less than or equal to area of circle C and which is less than or equal to area. So outside it is decreasing, so it is ON and etc. less than or equal to area of O1. So this inequality we have, but we want to find area of IN now. How it? So similarly, we can calculate like this. So then it will be this 2 times n. So this is 8-sided polygon. So we have 16. So in general, it is 2n divided by 2 sine 2 pi by 2n and cos 2 pi by 2n. So then what happens? Actually, 2 cancels. I mean each side. So this is like n times sine pi by n and cos pi by n. So if we increase sides, actually like limit, we are allowing number of sides to be very large. I mean n tends to infinity. Then what happens to the area of IN? Actually limit n tends to infinity. So what we are going to do is we are using the limit x tends to 0. We know this limit, no? Sin x by x, where it converges. I mean, what is the limit of limit x tends to 0? X by sin x by x. Can anyone? What is
1.
this limit actually?
1.
1. Yeah, correct. So now we are we are going to use that. So we will multiply and divide by pi. So what happens? So it will become sin pi by n. So we are producting and divided by pi. So it will be again pi by n in the denominator and cos pi by n. So cos is continuous function. So as n tends to infinity, pi by n goes to 0. So it will go to cos 0. And this whole thing will go to cos 0, which is 1. And this whole thing will go to 1 by this definition. So pi will come outside. So other limit will be 1. So it will remain the pi. So it is pi actually. So when n becomes larger, these inside polygons area will converge to pi. So we can similarly prove that outside that circumscribed polygons also converges to pi. So the area of the circle is pi. So in that way we can calculate area of the circle. So with this infusion, I am now going to define Riemann integration using similar idea actually, but there we are going to use rectangle as the building blocks actually. From inside outside, we will try to approximate similarly using rectangle. So I will define Riemann integral. Definition and existence of Riemann. So I'll start with the bounded. Let f is a function from closed interval a comma b to r be a bounded function. So now what we are going to do is like dividing the interval, this interval by small parts, and each parts we are going to approximate by the rectangles. So I will call it as a partition of the interval AB. Let P be a partition of AB, that is some finite points inside A and B. say x naught less than or equal to x1 or equal to etc. xn which is equal to b. So we are cutting interval a comma b into finite pieces actually, and we used to write difference of x xi minus xi minus 1 by delta x. So I will delta xi equal to xi minus xi minus 1. That is different of each constitutive. So now image of the function. So I'll draw some function and try to explain what this is. So this is the interval a comma b, and we partitioned it. So this is x1, which is equal to x naught, and this is x2, x is xn minus 1, and b equal to x. So this is image of f factor. So now we are going to divide, I mean small part, I mean each part we are going to divide. So there are something, and then finally final. So now we are going to approximate this area by rectangle above and below. So what we are going to do is the maximum value where f takes in this interval x0 comma x1. So we are going to choose maximum of f1. That otherwise supremum of x1 x xi comma xi plus 1 or supremum of xi minus 1 comma xi x belongs to this interval is capital Mi. We are going to denote this as a capital Mi, and infimum of each interval we are going to denote small mi equal to xi minus 1 comma xi x equal to capital M.
Sir, f of
So
x or supremum of x?
now what
Supremum of f of x.
yeah f of x, sorry thank you, f of x, yeah, correct. So this is capital Mi and small mi, and we are going to draw a rectangle of that length actually. So here supremum is this attained at this point. So this is capital M1 and this is little m1. So we are going to, so I will use bigger rectangle for yellow color and small rectangle for red color. And bigger rectangle, okay, we don't have it actually. So you can see this, I mean each partition we are going to do same thing actually. So this is M2 maybe, like I will first draw infimum, then I will draw infimum. This is little M2 and this is little M3, etc. N minus 1 or N minus little m. So similarly, others. And this here, here, this. So this is capital M2. This is capital M3, and this point is capital M. So you can easily see that this bigger rectangle, the sum of the areas of the bigger rectangle is bigger than the area of the function, and uh, some of the rectangles of the small area, I mean small rectangle, some of the areas of the small rectangle is less than area of the function. This we can write from the diagram. So, so we have this following. In the diagram, we know that area of F is area under the curve. F is less than or equal to summation I equal to 1 to n capital Mi delta of xi. So which we are going to call u of f comma p given partition P. So similarly, like the area of small rectangle is less than or equal to area of less than or equal to area of f. This is by geometry. This is called L of f comma p. So now we have upper bound and lower bound for the area under the curve. So now we are going to increase the size of, I mean, number of partitions. Actually, we are going to refine this partition further and trying to approximate more and more. I mean, so you are going to see that. So when we refine this partition, the area of the small rectangles will increase and area of the larger rectangles will decrease. So then you have like better approximation from above and below to the area of the curve. So this is the idea actually. So I'll give the definition of refinement actually mathematically. We say that the partition P2 is refinement of P1 if P2 contains P1. That is like all the endpoints of P1 also belongs to P2 and it has some extra points. That's what it means. So then now, so call it P1, actually first partition. So now P2, we are taking P2, which is refinement of P1. So this will give you more points actually, maybe in between somewhere. Say y1, y0, y0 is this, and y1, y2, etc. yn. So yn has x also inside actually. X is also some y is. So now, to explain, I am going to write like only one point is there. One point there inside. So what like we will try to see what is happening in this partition, particular partition. So then we can generate. So for this is some y1, this is y2 inside. So then the infimum is same actually. Okay, so we factor exactly where infimum and supremum is. So let's say this is the point and supremum is this one, little below than that, and here supremum is this one, and infimum is okay. This is also same point. So, but we can try to see like when we increase the number of partitions. So actually, what happens? The size of smaller rectangle will increase, and size of larger rectangle will decrease. Actually, I mean, if you small the, I mean, if you take small sets and its supremum may decrease and infimum increase. That's what I want to say. So then with this understanding, we have this the following inequalities actually. So this second partition lower sum will be increasing. So this L of f comma p2, and which is less than or equal to area of f, which is less than or equal to u of f comma p2, which is less than or equal to u of f comma p1. Okay, so this now we want to take further refinement actually. So if we take further refinement, this will happen more times actually. Like we will get sequence of L's and U's which satisfies the following inequality. If we take further refinement for those interval a comma b, we have following sequences satisfy L1 L of P1 less than or equal to L of f comma P2. P3 is further refinement of P2. So we have this and etc. L of f of Pn and some more actually. Like we are taking so many times like large times. So this will be below than area of f, and we know that this continuation. So this is the area of f is less than or equal to u of f comma Pn is less than or equal to u of f comma P1. So now we have two sequences. One is monotonically increasing and bounded above. Bounded above by any. So L of f of f comma Pn is increasing, monotonically increasing sequence by this inequality, and bounded above by any u of f of pi actually. So then by this Tupper property, there exists, we have supremum of it actually. So I will write that. The sequence L of f comma Pn, n belongs to n, is a monotonically increasing sequence unbounded to by any u of f comma Pn for any n. And similarly, L of f comma so yeah. So before that supremum exists, I will denote supremum by supremum of P belongs to partition, P belongs to Sepal L of f of equal to integral exists and we denote it. Similarly, u of f comma pn is a monotonically decreasing sequence. Sequence unbounded below. Therefore, infimum exists and say infimum of f of x dx equal to infimum of p belongs to p u of f of. So now we have these two notions. You have these two integral notions, supremum of f. So now I'm going to say when the function is Riemann integrable. Now we say f is said to be so there is no problem with the infimum and supremum because it directly follows from least upper bound property of R. But there is a problem of equality. So these two things exist, but not necessarily equal. So f is said to be Riemann integrable if these two things are equal. So if f integrable, then we denote it. So we write so the notion. So right, f belongs to R of a comma b. Set of all Riemann integrable function and belongs to it. If f belongs to it, f is Riemann integrable, then we denote it by integral a to b f of x. So this is the definition of Riemann. Is there any doubt till now? If there is something. Shall I proceed? So I'll start giving example per function. This is Riemann integrable and this is not Riemann integrable. The trivial example. Constant. So f is a function closed interval 0, 1 to r defined by r such that so f of x equal to c x belongs to closed interval 0, 1. F is constant function. So the picture of constant function is like very real because it is actually a rectangle. Approximating it by rectangle. So there is nothing to do actually. So I draw the picture. So it is like evident. This is Riemann integrable and integral is equal to c. But we are trying to use the definition and do it. So this is the function. Rectangle. So now we want to show f is Riemann integrable and integral of Riemann like integral of f here. And see like not a AB then it is C10. So now choose partition as the interval itself. Partition p equal to 0, that is 2-point partition, 0 is not equal to 1. Then what is L of f comma p? So what is infimum here? C itself. So and there is only one part, one in of length 1. So it is C times 1, which is equal to C. F of p is actually C times 1. That is also C. Supremum also C. So this C times 1, which is equal to C. So we choose some arbitrary partition. So we have this inequality actually. L of f comma p. So then, since this is supremum, so it is bigger than that. Actually. 0, 1, f of x dx, which is less than or equal to this infimum of infimum of all UPS. U of f comma p, which is again C actually. So C less than or equal to C. So integral is this integral is x. So these two values are also equal. So f of x equal to integral 0 1 f of x dx equal to integral 0 to 1 f of x dx. So these two things equal. Therefore, this is Riemann integrable and integral is C. So now we are going to give example about example of a function which is not Riemann integrable. So I think many of you know this example. So first I'm writing this given example of a function which is not Riemann. So can you do it? If you already anyone can
The indicator function of rational.
rational. Yeah, that is what I'm doing. That's not Riemann. By f of x equal to 1, x belongs to 2 and 0, 2 or x belongs to Q function. Indicator function of Q. So this is not Riemann integrable. So the reason is very simple. Both the sets are dense in closed interval 0, 1. Q and Q complement. So that's why this happens. So if you choose any interval of small length, sufficiently small length, there exists a rational and there exists also a irrational, both. So in each interval, so how small it may be, you have a supremum is 1 and infimum is 0. So always it is like, I mean, 0 and 1. I mean, if you take, so all the intervals, infimum is 0 and supremum is 1. So if you sum, then also you will get 1 and 0 because you are partitioning it 0, 1 interval. So for any partition, this holds. So that's why this is not a Riemann integrable. You take infimum also. So I'll write it by density property. Of Q1 and Q complement. It follows that for any arbitrary small interval, it means AB such that A less than contains the rational and as well as irrational. So therefore, for any partition P of close to interval 0, 1, we have happens to we have LF F comma P equal to summation I equal to 1 to N. So infimum is 0 always. So times length of the interval. So it is 0. When U of F comma P is summation I equal to 1 to N, 1 times xi and 1 is constant. So so if we calculate the difference, sum the difference, then we will get length of the interval, which is 1. So this is true for any partition. So this is true for infimum and supremum as well. P equal to 1, not equal to 0, equal to supremum of P dimension LF. So that's why this is not okay. So now I'm going to equivalent definition for Riemann integrable. So I will state it as a theorem. So if F belongs to Riemann integral, I mean F belongs to R of A comma on the interval A comma B, if and only for every epsilon greater than 0, there exists a partition of A comma B, say P, such that U of F of P is less than epsilon. So this is equivalent to the Riemann integration because this is like using definition of infimum and supremum you can prove actually. So if it is Riemann integrable, then both are equal. Infimum and supremum of U, LP and infimum of U, both are equal. So there exists some partition which is very close to that particular point actually, and the both. So given epsilon, you can find a partition. So that is one way. And the other way, if you have such thing, then it necessarily Riemann integrable. So it is intuitively clear, but if you write it, it will require the definition of infimum and supremum. So, but I'm not going to give a proof here, but you can read any book for proof of this particular theorem. But we are going to use this result for problem solving actually. So I'm just giving a state. So next theorem that I will prove here. So, theorem 2. So now we will describe class of Riemann integrable functions. Which functions are Riemann integrable? So functions, we know that constant functions are Riemann integrable. Ordered functions are Riemann integrable. We know a wide class of function which is very important in analysis called continuous function. So now we are going to prove close interval A comma B is Riemann integrable. So if F is a continuous function on closed interval A comma B, then F belongs to now we will prove this. Actually, we are going to use above equivalence to prove it actually. So given epsilon, we want to find the partition. That's what we are doing. Let epsilon bigger than 0 be given. We want to find the partition P such that U of F comma P minus L of F comma P is less than. Now we choose some eta bigger than 0 so that B minus A times eta less than epsilon. So this is for truth sake. Now we know that the function is given function is continuous and it defined on a compact set closed to interval. So we know that continuous function defined on a compact set is uniformly continuous. So we can use the uniform continuity of F, and so for this eta we can find the delta. The continuous function defined on compact set is uniformly continuous. So for this eta, so for this eta bigger than 0, there exists delta bigger than 0 such that f of x minus f of t less than eta whenever x minus t is less than delta for x comma t belongs to closed interval. So now we are going to use this inside the partition. Yes. So now we want to choose partition. So now we are in the stage of choosing partition. So P is any partition of closed interval a comma b such that the length of the interval xi, that is xi minus this delta, else I equal to 1 to 10. So we will denote it as equation, but then by equation 1 we obtain, we have so since the length of the partition is less than delta, so maximum and difference between maximum and minimum also less than eta. This is the uniform continuity for I equal to, for all I equal to 1 to, and now so now we want to compute this actually. F of U of F comma P minus L of F comma P, which is equal to summation mi del equal to 1 to n minus little m summation I equal to 1 to n small mi delta x, and delta x is common, so you can write it as it is mi minus little m times delta x. Now we know that this is less than or equal to eta times summation. So this for all I this is less than eta, so eta come out. So this is which is equal to eta times b minus a. But we choose eta in such a way that b minus a times eta is less than epsilon. So this is less than epsilon. So now we prove u of f comma p for this partition u of f comma p minus l of f comma p is less than epsilon. Thus continuous given continuous function is Riemann integral. So f belongs to this completes the proof. So now we proved continuous function belongs. So all the continuous function belongs to Riemann integrable. So what if it has discontinuity? So we saw that a Dirichlet function, which is the characteristic function of rationals in closed interval 0, 1. This has infinitely many discontinuities actually. That function is discontinuous everywhere. I mean, it is nowhere continuous function actually. So that is highly discontinuous. So that function is not Riemann integrable. But now we prove continuous function is belongs to Riemann integrable. So maybe the function may have finitely many discontinuous or infinite discontinuous, that we don't know. But now what we are going to say is, like, even if it has finite number of discontinuities, then also that function belongs to Riemann integral. I mean, that function is Riemann integral. That's what. Yes. F is A comma B. F has finitely many points of distance. Then F is so the proof is again same. So what we are going to do, so it has finite number of discontinuities, say x1, x2, that. So okay, so we are using partitions for x1. So I will write u1, u1, u2, etc. ur. All the points are points of discontinuous of F. Then we are going to remove a small open interval around this point of discontinuous, such that sum of all intervals is less than epsilon by some factor. Then outside this, so since we are removing open intervals from the closed interval X, the complement of union of this interval is closed actually. So then again, so F is a continuous function apart from this, actually this discontinuity. So outside of this open intervals, so F is continuous outside of this open interval. So like in this closed interval. So again we can use continuous function defined and compact set is uniformly continuous. By uniformly continuity, we can try to manage other parts of the interval actually. So in that way we can prove this theorem also. So I'm not going to give the detail of the proof, but I can write an example to describe how it is working actually. Like, so you can take this example. This has one discontinuity. F is a function from closed interval 0, 1 to R defined by F equal to 0 if so this function has only one discontinuity at a point x equal to 1 by 2. X belongs to this, belongs to this. So we can draw this at b 0 up to 1 by 2, but it has a jump system 1 by 2, then it became 1. So now we can choose which is like 0, 1 by 2 minus epsilon by 2, and 1 by 2 plus epsilon by 2, 1. Okay. So then what happens to upper sum? Scalar f comma p. So this is 0, L and Q both are same actually. So first interval it is U times half minus epsilon by 2 actually length of the interval is half minus epsilon by 2, and next it is so infimum is 0 in this interval also times epsilon. So length is epsilon actually. This is this length is half minus epsilon by 2. This length is epsilon, and this is 1 minus 1 times epsilon half minus epsilon by 2. Half minus epsilon by 2. Okay. So what is u of f comma p? This is also same, but here it is changing. 0, 1 by 2 minus epsilon by 2 plus 1 times epsilon plus 1 times half minus 2 divided by epsilon. So now given epsilon bigger than 0, we find this partition. So now u of f comma p minus L of f comma p, we can see that it is less than or equal to. So only this place it is changing. So this is 0 times epsilon, this became 0, and both are here. So this will cancel out these two things. So remaining thing is 1 times epsilon, which is less than or equal to epsilon. So this function is Riemann integrable. This has one discontinuity. So for finitely discontinuity, we have to do similar thing for finite number of places. That's all. So now I'll do for monotone function. So monotone function also Riemann integrable. So theorem f is monotone function. Define them. Then f belongs to R of sorry. F belongs to R of A comma. So how are you going to prove this? Can you suggest anyone? Any idea for this? I mean, similar thing actually. We are going to we have to find a partition such that it will work. I mean, that f comma p minus L of f comma p is less than f. So anyone can suggest. So epsilon bigger
So
than
if
0.
we choose
Yeah.
choose a partition whose sub-intervals have equal length, like a plus h, a plus 2h.
Yeah, correct. So it has some. I am choosing it has length of 1 by n. So like then it will work. Yeah, correct. So shall I give proof or skip? Okay, I'll try to give the details. Not much. Yeah, same idea. Whatever is that way. Consequences integer. So if you choose a partition, so yeah, so we are doing interval of a comma b. So we have to manage the length also. I mean, we are choosing, so it is not 1 by n, but it is of the size the length of the interval divided by n. So that constant, I mean, we are trying to partition the interval a comma b of each partition has size b minus a divided by n. So choose a positive integer n, and for any positive integer n, choose a partition. Such that delta of xi equal to b minus a divided by equal to 1 to n. So now we can assume, without loss of generality, we can assume this function is monotonically increasing. So then what happens? So each partition, so function is increasing. So supremum is attained at xi and infimum is attained at xi minus 1. So infimum is this and supremum is this. So with this infusion, so we can write mi equal to f of xi and small mi equal to f of xi minus 1 for each I, for I equal to 1 to n. So that the partition equal to summation I equal to 1 to n f of xi times delta xi and f of xi minus 1 times delta xi. Correct? So yeah. Now then u of f comma p minus L of f comma p equal to summation I equal to 1 to n fi xi minus fi xi minus 1 times delta x, but we have chosen delta x such that I mean xi such that delta x is equal. So this will come out. So b minus a divided by n. So we choose in that example delta xi equal to b minus a. So summation I equal to 1 to n. So then this is like telescopic some kind of thing. So it will cancel each out. I mean each thing. F of b minus f of b. So now, so n is n choose an arbitrary length. So we can choose n sufficiently large so that this whole thing became less than epsilon. That given epsilon. So choose large enough, n large enough. So that b minus a times f of b minus a divided by n plus n. This completes the proof. Then by theorem, I mean the equivalent thing of Riemann integration, we have f belongs to R of a comma. Yeah. So now integral function has monotonic functions also instead. So now there is like, can you give some other example like f, but still is Riemann integrable? Is there any? Is there such function exist? Can anyone give such example? So we know that if it has finite number of discontinuous, then f is Riemann integrable. So what happens when f has infinitely many discontinuous? So whether still it can be Riemann integrable? So I will give an example of such function. This function is called Thome function. So f is function from closed interval 0, 1 to r defined by f of x equal to 0 if x is irrational, 1 by q if x is rational, and 0 again. So it's not 0 rational. X is actually, I have to say what is q. So x is equal to p by q, such that GCD of reduced rational number, GCD of p comma q equal to 1. So this is called Thome function. This function, so maybe Arun sir did this example actually. F is continuous and irrational, and f is discontinuous at rationals actually. F is only continuous only and irrational. So it has infinitely many discontinuities, but still f is Riemann integrable. F belongs to R of closed interval a comma b. Actually, I'm not going to prove this result also, but I can give the intuition actually. So when you so we have to prove using that way, like given epsilon bigger than 0, we have to find a partition such that L of f comma u of f comma p minus L of f comma p less than epsilon. So we have to choose a partition. So we have to like so q naught is very large number, natural number. So like we can. So this function is. So image of this function is looking like this actually. Small rational number has bigger values actually, and large natural number, large denominator, rational number whose denominator is very large, they have small values actually, which is close to 0 maybe. So we have to choose q large enough so that we will avoid, I mean, so that 1 by q is less than epsilon actually. Such q naught we have to choose. Then all other rationals has denominator larger than that particular q naught. So then so it is then we have this inequality like q 1 by q minus 0 is less than epsilon always. I mean, it is very close to epsilon. Like such a way we have to choose q naught. But I'm not going to detail of the proof. But instead, I can do one example, which we require. I mean, which I require for measure theoretic motivation actually. So we know that like all of you know the pointwise convergence and uniformly convergence of sequence of function, sequence and series of function. The notion of pointwise convergent and uniformly convergence. Everyone knows that. So it has done by Arun sir actually already. So so we know that like see, there is a theorem actually. So suppose sequence of function fn converges to f uniformly, then so suppose fn is Riemann integrable. Right? then f also Riemann integrable, and limit n tends to infinity, integral a to b f1 of x dx, integral a to b f of x dx. So this is true when f1 converges to f uniformly. So these are defined on closed interval a comma b. That is clear. So uh, if f1 converges to f pointwise, then this need not be true. I'm going to give an example to elaborate that fact. So I will choose a function which converges to some function pointwise, but the sequence of function f1 all are Riemann integrable, but not the limit. I mean, limit is not Riemann integrable. I mean, this instead of talking about this convergence, there is such examples where f does not even Riemann integrable. So I'm going to give that example. So since q is countable, we can enumerate the elements of q, say qn n equal to 1 to infinity. So define a sequence of function. Define by f1 if x belongs to q1 etc. qn. Actually, only this finite 0 otherwise. This is a characteristic function of n elements of this set actually. So the index of the function is varying. So f1 is just characteristic function on q1, and f2 comma q2 etc. Fn is characteristic function of q1 set q1 q2 up to qn. So we know that where this function converges pointwise, actually f of x converges to f. What is the value of f?
The indicator function of rational.
Rational, yeah, yes. So f of x is of course this to q and 0 if x belongs to q complement. Otherwise, so this is a function. I mean, indicator function of rational and close to interval a comma b. This intersection. Oh, okay. So I have to say that actually we are enumerating only. So we are doing everything on a bounded interval. So we have to use only rationals in some particular interval. So intersection. This is countable. We can enumerate this. So now we have. So this is this, and this is intersection. So this is the indicator function of. And we already saw that this function is not Riemann integrable. F is not Riemann integrable, but Fn for n equal to 1, n belongs to n. Why? So why all the Fn's are Riemann integrable? Since all the Fn has only finitely many discontinuity. Function which has finitely many discontinuous, all those functions are Riemann integrable. So this is up like except So all these fn's are Riemann integrable, but the limit of fn, f converges to f pointwise. But limit is not Riemann integrable. So these kind of reasons, Riemann integration actually, I mean, so it should happen. I mean, uniform convergence is very strong condition. So we are buying something of cost 10 rupees, like we are buying something of cost of 100 rupees, which is actually a cost of 10 rupees. It is like that. So to convergence of integral, we require like uniformly convergence, these kind of things. So to rectify this, like Lebesgue defines integration in some other way, so that we are going to see tomorrow actually. So there are some other motivations also. I can give, like when I define Lebesgue integration. So before that I will define what measurable function, and then I will start defining integration in the sense of measure. So there, this Dirichlet function is measurable since it is like constant almost everywhere. So this function is very nice function in the sense of really, but in Riemann integral, this is very bad. Nowhere continuous. So it is very bad. Yeah, that's what today. This is enough. I'm going to stop today. If any doubt, you can ask.
Participants, if you have any doubt, you can ask. Any questions from audience? Participants, please.
Is that okay? Yeah.
Divya? Unmute and ask. Sir, I think no questions from the participant side, sir.
Okay. Yeah, then it's fine.
Any? Okay, thank you, sir. Thank you for your lecture.
Kindly share the notes of the previous classes also.
Yes, sir. We will share Monday or Tuesday. We will share, sir.
Okay, okay. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir.
Thank you.
Karthik, sir, thank you. Thank you, participants.
Thank you, sir.